The Middle East is boiling, and this time the rhetoric isn't just heated, it's explosive. As nuclear diplomacy teeters on the edge, Washington threatens Paris postures and Tehran is firing back with venom, secrets, and a chilling warning. You will fish your soldiers' corpses from the sea. This isn't just a war of words. It's a showdown for survival. And the next move could tip the world off balance. Tensions escalate between Washington and Tehran. The rhetoric has taken a fiery turn, with Iranian officials unleashing a barrage of defiance in response to U.S. threats. Hardline Iranian lawmaker Mahmoud Nababin didn't mince words, warning Secretary of State Marco Rubio in a blistering post on the foreign minister of the criminal U.S. regime has threatened Iran. In response, we say listen and understand, Rubio, don't talk nonsense before committing any foolishness. Make sure you're prepared to find the corpses of your soldiers in the sea. This was no diplomatic tap on the shoulder. It was a punch thrown across cyberspace. The message from Tehran is unambiguous. Iran is neither intimidated nor unprepared. Mohsen Rezai, a senior Iranian official and former commander of the Revolutionary Guards, added fuel to the fire, accusing President Trump and his circle of chaotic foreign policy driven by neoconservative whispers before taking office in the White House. Trump claimed that he had plans to end wars immediately, even within 24 hours. However, the war in Ukraine continues. The ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon has been broken, and the Israeli occupying army has seized parts of Syria. Regarding negotiations with Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran has demonstrated its seriousness and willingness to negotiate and reach an agreement. But Trump and his team, influenced by Netanyahu and the neoconservatives, remain confused and disoriented. Iran is prepared for any scenario. Confrontation with Iran would have dire consequences for the United States. Building on that message, government spokesperson Fatima Madani reiterated Iran's preparedness for any scenario while emphasizing its continued commitment to diplomacy. In her comments to the ILNA news agency, that we will not back down from threats on this issue under any circumstances. We are ready for everything, but we are not interested in conflict. That is why we support dialogue and negotiations. We didn't enter negotiations to waste our time. Of course, we hope for a positive outcome, but we are continuing to run the country regardless of what happens from parliament to the presidency. Tehran's message to Washington is blisteringly clear. Negotiate seriously, or prepare for consequences. The heat is on, and neither side appears ready to blink. Iran Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi turned up the heat on May 3rd, declaring Iran's undeniable right to the full nuclear fuel cycle as a founding member of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, or NPT. In a sharp post on ECS, he reminded critics that uranium enrichment isn't exclusive to Iran. Several Asian, European, and South American nations do the same without nuclear weapons ambitions. Slamming hawkish rhetoric and media theatrics, Araghchi warned that maximalist positioning only sabotages diplomatic progress. A credible and durable agreement is within reach, he asserted, calling for political maturity and fairness. I generally refrain from airing arguments on key negotiation elements through the media. What I will say is that repeating falsehoods will not change basic facts. As a founding signatory to the NPT, Iran has every right to possess the full nuclear fuel cycle. Moreover, there are several NPT members which enrich uranium while wholly rejecting nuclear weapons. Apart from Iran, this club includes several Asian, European, and South American nations. Maximalist positioning and incendiary rhetoric achieve nothing except eroding the chances of success. A credible and durable agreement is within reach. All it takes is firm political will and a fair attitude. Meanwhile, Russia has thrown its weight behind Iran's nuclear stance, with Ambassador Mikhail Ulyanov affirming Tehran's right to the full nuclear fuel cycle under the NPT. Minister Arachi is absolutely right. Early on-off posted on ECS, stressing that NPT members have rights as well as obligations. Reposting Iraqi's earlier rebuke of the U.S. early on-off echoed Tehran's warning that aggressive rhetoric jeopardizes fragile negotiations, that I would prefer to refrain from detailed comments at a sensitive stage of the talks. But Minister Arachi is absolutely right. Under the EU winners, NPT states parties don't only take some basic obligations, but also get some basic rights that can't be questioned as tensions flare. Following U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's threat of military consequences, Moscow's backing adds a new layer to the geopolitical chessboard, signaling that Washington may not find consensus in pushing Iran toward disarmament on its own terms. As nuclear tensions rise, Tehran's power players are firing back, exposing secrets, slamming the West, and rejecting pressure with defiance. Iran's ultra-hardline Kayhan newspaper slammed Trump, branding him an exceptionally destructive fool whose reckless ambitions could plunge the world into deeper chaos. In a blistering editorial, Kayhan warned Tehran won't bow to U.S. demands for total disarmament. Though some flexibility on enrichment may be possible, the message was clear. Iran bends for no one, least of all Trump. Ali Larijani, senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader, fired back at U.S. pressure, warning that the fate of nuclear talks hinges on global fairness and rationality. Slamming American power politics, he dismissed claims that Iran created or relies on groups like Hezbollah or Hamas. These talks may succeed, or they may not. It depends on whether there is fairness and rationality in how global affairs are conducted. Many global regulations are outwardly backed by international institutions, but behind them lies power. Right now, the Americans believe they must enforce their power. Did we create Hezbollah? No. It started when Israel occupied Beirut. They say Iran has armed branches. Iran doesn't need armed branches. Iranian MP May sums up her and also dropped a bombshell revealing that the Raisi administration quietly negotiated on the nuclear front while keeping the public in the dark to dodge market shocks. He said talks happened, but no one knew. By sidelining transparency, the government muted currency chaos and managed public expectations, in the hurricane's words. Secrecy was a strategy the U.S. government also negotiated but didn't tell the people. Talks happened, but society wasn't aware, so it didn't become psychologically conditioned to the negotiation. Climate progress or failure in talks didn't affect the exchange rate because the government didn't socialize the negotiation process. People didn't know who had come or gone, and that lack of awareness kept expectations in check. As global powers circle and rhetoric sharpens, Iran's leaders are signaling unwavering resolve with secrecy, defiance, and strategic ambiguity. Tehran is playing hardball and making clear it won't be cornered easily as nuclear diplomacy stalls. Iran slammed France's rhetoric and revealed U.S. requested delays, citing internal reshuffles and external pressure. Iran's foreign ministry slammed French Foreign Minister Jean-Paul Barrot, calling his claim that Iran is on the cusp of building nuclear weapons absurd. Spokesperson Ismail Barchi warned France's threats and misinformation risked sabotaging diplomacy. Echoing this, Iran's UN envoy, Amir Syed Irani, urged Paris to drop coercion and respect sovereign rights if it truly seeks a diplomatic solution. French foreign minister's claim that Iran is on the cusp of developing a nuclear weapon is simply absurd. This false statement, coupled with the minister's open threats to reimpose sanctions, reinforces the suspicion that France's nagging posture risks evolving into a spoiling role that won't add any credit to France and its status in Europe and globally. Meanwhile, former Iranian ambassador Ali Berman Igbaimizak revealed that the U.S. requested the delay of the Rome nuclear talks, citing internal reshuffling tied to Trump's envoy pick Steve Witkom. While both Tehran and Washington are still keen on striking a deal, Agbayemi warned that Israeli pressure and external interference could derail momentum. He added that even with an initial agreement, the most entrenched U.S. sanctions, those needing congressional repeal, will be the hardest and slowest to dismantle. With tensions mounting, Iran is doubling down on sovereignty, exposing diplomatic rifts and warning that real progress demands external restraint.